some airplanes this week. What happened?
Oh, goodness. Well, I obviously I didn't break the airplane. I don't want anyone thinking that anything funny happened here, but yeah, I was flying both airplanes on different trips, and the APU went bad in different ways in both airplanes. And unfortunately, you won't feel very bad for me with this, but unfortunately, in the 2000, it's an air start engine, which is nice. There's reasons for that, but that's pretty much all of you guys start with air start with yours, and so that's nothing different with you. But like the 900 is an electrical start.
Oh,
and unfortunately, getting an air start cart or a huffer cart or whatever you might call it.
You mean the PCA cart, or?
I'm not sure. Maybe that's what you call it.
Well, because there's the air start cart, which is a high pressure bleed air used to start the engine, and then there's the PCA cart, preconditioned air, which just
environmental.
Ours
is one and the same. Actually, we've only got one port, and it's high pressure air. So not your PCA stuff. We just plug it in, you get the high pressure air, and that actually goes through our environmental system as well. But finding those carts in the GA world is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And not everywhere has them. I've spent multiple phone calls because I kind of became of making phone calls on behalf of the first airplane that I broke when I got back with that one. And then you have to make decisions. We actually did end up canceling a flight that I wasn't on, because if you don't have that capability to start the engine, you flat out can't go because you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
So that unfortunately, of course, they both broke away from base. So I wasn't even at home. Now, fortunately, both places that I discovered the problem, I did end up being able to get a hover cart, but I also was able to break one of those carts as well. So that created another multi-hour delay after the cart that we had borrowed. As soon as I hit the engine start, the cart completely shut down. So
it just decided, nope, not today.
Yeah, it was running. We had air going through the cabin, and the worst part was I got there to the airport extra early, right? Because there's all these extra things to get yourself set up, and you're trying to mitigate what happens with the passengers. And I had everything hooked up. I've got the GPU hooked up, and I've got the air hooked up, and there's air coming through the cabin. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start the engine as the passengers show up. And so I got we're pulling up to the gate, and I was like, all right, get the line guys over there. And I start the engine, and the whole air cart literally just shut down. And the motor quit, everything stopped, and they couldn't even get the motor started. The engine started again. And so now I'm sitting here with the passengers there in Austin, Texas, where it's like 97 degrees.
And humid.
Yeah, so this happened in Houston, Austin, and Dallas. Those were my failure positions this week. And something about Texas. And I'm sweating like a pig. One time I've got fuel that's just dripping on me when I'm trying to go in between. I had to wash my shirt twice because I smelled like kerosene from going back to the aft service compartment. It was kind of a mess.
So from inside the aircraft, you went to the aft service compartment, which you've showed me. You've walked me through that airplane. So you crawled through there, and you have... So you're telling me there's fuel leaking in there? Is that what you're saying?
So I definitely, that was the Cliff Notes version of that. What was it? On the second airplane, what was happening on the second airplane is it was failing to ignite. And I tried it a couple times, and then I called our maintenance guy, and he had me do some things, but I think that maybe the fuel solenoid wasn't closing entirely every time that we tried to start it. And so what was happening was back way up at the APU, there was some fuel that escaped and was running down the tail section, the underside of the tail section to the airplane. I mean, we're not talking huge amounts, but let's just say enough that I was wondering if I was going to
doesn't take much. Yeah,
light a fire when I finally got it started.
Yeah,
which was not until the next day anyway. But yeah. And then basically on that aft service compartment, when that door came open, that's where the fuel just kind of stopped there and this dripped. And I'm trying to run back and forth. And so I just got rained on a couple of times.
Yeah. And, one thing I learned that it's probably a good idea to have on hand. At a previous life, I was a retail manager. And part of my responsibility was to manage the gas station for one of these big box retailers. You can imagine, the one with the red stripe on the building. And so as the gas station and tire center manager that I was for a little bit over a year, I had to learn a lot. And one thing I learned was that every gas station there has a spray bottle. And that spray bottle is called FM186. And it's a solution that was invented years ago. And when you spray it on gasoline or fuel, it immediately neutralizes it and turns it basically into water. And the reason it's called FM186 is because when the developers showed it to the oil giants, this product, the owner said, "That's an effing miracle." And so it was then rebranded as FM186. Now, if you ever get gasoline on your hands when you're filling up your car, you know that smell absolutely can linger. And if you get it on your clothes, it's the vapors from the fuel that ignite, not the liquid itself. Now, diesel engines, sure, we can talk about diesel being the actual liquid is what catches on fire or illuminate or ignites. But when it comes to gasoline and Jet A and that kind of thing, it's the vapor. That's why there's spray nozzles, that they vaporize the fuel, and that's what burns, is the vaporization is flammable. So when you get it on you or you smell it, if you're smelling it, that's flammable. So yeah, you did absolutely the right thing, changing your shirt, 2 times? Yeah. But that's kind of scary too, knowing that there's something inside the aircraft like that there's electronics back there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what was going on because, we had maintenance on that one. Maintenance came out and eventually, they basically just pulled some stuff out and put it back in, and then it worked.
Looks good to me.
We just know that it started.
I hit it with the ball peen hammer. It looks good.
Well, actually, that's a little bit true on the other airplane.
My favorite.
That's besides the point.
Yeah, my favorite meme is there's this locomotive, and they're having a hard time. They've been spending days trying to fix this locomotive, and it won't start. And so they hire this professional. They fly him in. He looks at it and he goes, "Okay, how long has this thing been down?" He goes, "It's been down for like 3 days, and we're losing millions. We need to get this thing up and running." So he goes, "Okay, I'll fix it, but it's $1 million price tag for me to repair it." He goes, "How long will it take?" He goes, "About 10 minutes. He says, "What?" So he says, "Okay, fine. I need this, going right now." He goes, "Okay." So he goes into the engine compartment of the locomotive, and he tinkers around for about 4 minutes, pulls out a ball peen hammer, and with one shot goes, ding, and it starts right up. And he goes, "I'm paying $1 million for that. Are you nuts?" He goes, "No, you're paying $1 for that. You're paying $999,999 for me to know where to hit it." Sometimes those mechanics, you got to give them credit, man. They got to know where to just tap it sometimes,
Yep. And that was also after, with the hammer. It was a valve that was sticking on that one. The AP would start on that one, but the bleed valve had gotten stuck, and they eventually pulled it out, and it was kind of gunked up. But yeah, apparently they just kind of manipulated or whacked it out, whatever they did, and valve popped open.
Yep. Cleaned it up. Yep. Lubricated it. Put some WD-40 on it. I spray, you go. I fly, you fix.
Yeah, I think that's
all right, brother.
Replacement. So
yeah. Well, hey, you survived another week of the chaos of aviation, and congratulations.